Hey, Jim Gaffney with your Mortgage Minute update of the morning of the week here. And just want to talk for a second about assumptions. I'm getting a lot of phone calls, a lot of real estate agents, listing agents mostly, asking me about assumptions and how they can sell their home with the interest rate of, 2.75%, 3% from somebody who has a lower rate as a seller. How can I transfer ownership of that home to a buyer and keep that interest rate? Use it as a marketing tool, right? I mean, anybody who's listing a home today at 3%, that's a gigantic advantage to a buyer. However, assumptions are not as cut and dry as it may appear as far as transferring ownership and having that rate transferring to a new owner. So my encouragement is that anybody who's interested in an assumption on a particular property, you have to get the seller to call their respective lender and ask them what are their terms of assumption. Now, a conventional loan, an FHA loan, and a VA loan, they're all going to have likely different assumption allowances, meaning, on an FHA loan, I likely will not be able to have that loan assumed by somebody who maybe is not a family member or if I'm the owner of the home and I'm not deceased, maybe there's not enough of a hardship to warrant an assumption. So each investor has their own guidelines. There's some generic guidelines around assumptions, but there's so many investors, and going back historically for current mortgages, I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of any individual mortgage company. What I can say is that the majority of assumptions really don't like cash changing hands. That's not to say that it can't. A lot of assumptions like VA don't want the buyer to take out a loan to pay the difference between assuming the mortgage and paying the seller. So there's going to be a different model, a different scenario. But please, if you're listing a home, before you put that sign in the front yard, please call the lender of the home. You should be finding out what the payoff is on the property anyway. But call the lender, find out what are the terms of assumption, because if you can market that home with a lower rate of interest, that's a gigantic advantage over the competition, and it creates affordability. And large portions of affordability expands your buyer pool, massively expands your buyer pool. So make the phone call, ask the existing lender about what the terms of assumption are, find out if there has to be a hardship, find out if there has to be a family member, find out if somebody had to have died or have a divorce scenario, or if it can just be to a third party. So all of them are going to be different likely. And that's my recommendation for today. So think about that when you're listing a home. It's still going to be a buyer-seller relationship, but they may have the opportunity to take over the seller's interest rate, low interest rate at that. All right, if you have questions about assumptions, give me a call. I can get you pointed in the right direction. Take care.